Hello? Yes, please. Thank you. Yes. I will meet you at the door. Oh, okay. Good deal then. Cool. Bye. Okay, who is talking to me here? Brandon. Um, Text or what? Emails? Well, we just are trying to get going. All right, deal. Okay, just don't watch the recording till after you take the test. Hello, dear. How are you? Welcome, you too.
Hi, good evening.
I survived a heck of a day already. I'm about to ban cement trucks from our end of the county. We had a second cement truck, and I understand there was a third one that was on the Buffalo side that T-boned a car this summer. All belonging to the same company. Don't know where Aaron is. Buck is the one who wanted to know if we'd do this if he showed up over here. So he better get here. I don't see him on here. Then we started basketball tonight. We only have 4 chapters left. So we'll probably finish up lecture part on Monday. with the exception of hazmat. And if you remember, Coker is doing hazmat on November 3rd in Thermopolis at the fire hall. You can go and attend just for part of it if you want, or you can stay the whole thing and actually get certified in hazmat awareness, I believe is what the class is. And if you want to go higher than that, you can go back the next day and get a whole bunch more hazmat. I wasn't planning to. Is somebody gone for hazmat class? Our friend at the bottom, Regina. She must be muted.
So,
are you muted?
can you hear me?
Yes. I can.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm having issues. I have to use my phone. My computer's not starting. So,
It's
what
been
did you
one
say?
of those days.
Yeah, so that class on the 3rd, actually that week I had to be in Billings for Navy staff.
Okay.
So I will not be able to attend. Yeah.
Well, I don't know that the hazmat is really any different. I mean, read the chapter, but it's pretty much what we already learned in EMT class.
I can imagine.
So you guys just finished it. You just won't be certified. It's not.
Okay.
It's one of those, you might have a question, you might have 2 questions, probably not. You probably won't see it on the national test, but today's test was a harder beastie than what I've been doing. And there's one that you probably had to look up a word. There were a whole lot worse questions, and I thought, no, I'm not throwing that at them. But I did make it a little harder because the physiology stuff comes more into play so that you're knowing what to do about what's going on. Well, I should grab the test here. There he is.
Can I fill it out?
Yes, I have a bubble sheet.
Mine. Oh, mine. No, mine. I filled mine out in highlighter and then I corrected a bunch and I'm like, oh.
Look at mine.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Yes. Oh, you haven't done the test?
Don't you could come in and do it here for the job. You haven't done the test yet?
Oh, you guys are going over? Yeah.
Well, we might have to send you in the other room.
Okay.
Well, that's what Brendan's doing. Brendan's going to take it right now too, and I don't know where Aaron is. Yeah, or Jim or wherever you can find, as long as you can't hear us. So this was in the paper today. I told my husband I need it. And he told me, well, what are you giving up?
Oh.
There's Great Pyrenees mix
I was gonna
pups.
say, that's a Pyrenees mix right there.
That's a Pyrenees mix, and there's 4 of them, and I want it.
You need a partner.
Exactly, that's what I said. It will grow up with the chickens while it's a puppy. It will protect them. And my granddaughter said, well, what about us? And I said, if you're around it as a puppy, it will guard you too. If you're a stranger, good luck. But if you're not a stranger, it will love you. My sister-in-law told me about one of her dogs, that she's filling out her bubble sheet at the moment. That a chicken was over there. It was sleeping in her yard. And one of my chickens went over and was mulling around it. And all of a sudden the dog jumped and grabbed it in its mouth, and the chicken squawked and it let it go. And I told her, you know, I'm betting that chicken went over and pecked the dog, and that's what ticked the dog off. Because the dog's been ignoring him up until that chicken, it's known to pick on anything. Someday she's going to learn her lesson, hopefully not get killed in the process. I got stung 2 days ago. It's making my arm itch like crazy.
And then I skipped the question. So then the last part was all off.
Oh, that stinks.
I was like, what am I doing?
I've got 3 of them marked wrong because I changed the question. So I hope I have it right now. Okay, we have Angie, Regina, Brennan's supposed to be gone, and McKenna. The class I was hoping wouldn't have 9 people. It's got 3 signed up. It's getting 8 to 11 out of Burlington. It's getting about 3 out of Basin. Then they're going to hire me an assistant teacher if I get that many.
There's no funding for it. Is it through the Powell College?
It's through Powell College.
Because there's 2 high school, 2 seniors who want to take it.
Yeah, well, it's $9.75.
Yeah. I told Jake and I'd let her know when they were doing it.
I don't think I'll do it for 2 years is the problem.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I'll do it for 2 years. I usually teach a class and then I have a year and a half off. But this year I will be doing 3 classes in a year and a half. Finishing this one and then the next one, and it'll all be squashed in a year and a half. She coming?
She said, I'm finishing up the testing remote.
See how they are. Well, let's not grade the test yet. Let's do the lecture then.
Huh.
Fine. Is that okay with you people online?
Yeah.
All right. I can go to recording.
Recording in progress.
Okay. This is all the fun, boring stuff. Not really boring, but transport operations. Who could tell me history of EMS? You all should have it down now. When did it start?
World War One. They will just go get the patients, but bring them back without any treatment at all.
Okay.
And it started.
Actually, it started with Napoleon,
Oh wow!
who had horse-drawn wagons who would go out and scoop people up and bring them in. And in the Civil War, they kind of did that, dragged people in. They didn't really do much for them. But then it made huge progress once they got into the world wars, and still making progress thanks to the wars. We learn a lot through that because they experience a lot of what we don't, especially in the trauma department. They talk about the design of ambulances and what's a type 1, type 2, and honestly, I have never seen a question on that, and I really don't know what difference it makes. As long as you know what your ambulance is and you're driving it. They go from the old van type to the fancy ones. They're actually going back down to little tiny things again.
Huh? And it was like something about when did they first start? 1800s or whatever like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then truly EMS as we know it today kind of started in the 60s because that's when we started treating instead of just scooping.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a TV program called Emergency with an exclamation point that's actually reruns you can find online and watch. They're really pretty dumb at this point in life, but they were working with the fire departments that were starting to actually bring medical care in as they made that show. So they kind of worked together and developed it, which is interesting. They brought one of the actors up to the conference in Cheyenne about 10 years ago. It was interesting to hear him talk. They talk about phases of an ambulance call. You prepare for the call, you get dispatched, you go en route to the scene. Once you're at the scene is part 2, and after the scene is part 3. You deliver them and you do your run sheet, and you go back and restock. All ambulance have equipment checklists. The state has a lovely checklist of what needs to be on your rigs, but everybody carries a little bit different equipment. We're actually supposed to be checking those every month because they were randomly going around the state and checking you out to make sure you had all your stuff. So when you go home, or if you think about it, can you get a small, about 2 of the smaller ace wraps and throw them in 7.7? Because currently all there are 6-inch ones. They used one today. I mean, I was trying to wrap around the head, and even that one was too big. That's where a small one's handier. And what meds you need to carry. Be sure after every run that you decontaminate all the equipment. Wipe it all down real good, wipe down your rig real good, keep it clean so that you don't cross-contaminate between patients. Check your oxygen levels. These services that have regular shifts, you should be checking your rig at the beginning of each shift to make sure it's completely stocked. Ones like us that are volunteers, we should be restocking when we get back from the call so that it's ready for the next run. Check your batteries on your equipment, especially check the cots, make sure they lock down properly. We're usually in the middle of a run when we find our cots giving us grief. And that's not really the time to find that. You have jump kits that you throw all the good stuff in that you can just grab and take with you inside. And there's a lovely list of what should be in it. Then you have your areas behind your doors. Make sure people know where to find things. I sent a fireman one time to go get me some IV tubing. I carried it all up where I was supposed to have it, except for the tubing. So I had to send him down, and instead the dear man brought me oxygen tubing. And I didn't have the heart to send him back because he just hiked down a cliff and back up. You need to inspect daily if you're a regular running ambulance, your fuel level, your oil level, transmission fluid, brake fluid, your batteries, engine belts, tires, all that fun stuff. Make sure all your lights work. Your sirens are still there. We lost one of our siren boxes on the mountain one summer. And we came back and looked at the front of the ambulance and said, where did our siren go? And had to replace it. Check your doors, window, and mirrors. Be sure they're nice and clean and in the right position before you take off. Our rig needs a bath. We discovered this morning, especially the windshield. Dispatch center, I think we all go through our local dispatchers, who will tell us the nature of the call, the present location, and they can give us a callback number if needed, but they're not always correct. Today we were paged up the Knollwood, just barely across the bridge, take the first right hand driveway. Well, it was actually about half a mile past the bridge and it was on the left.
Okay.
So we're looking down this very sharp turn to the road, not seeing anything, but we see 2 trucks parked at the side of the road. So we were looking at them and they were pointing behind them. They were blocking the truck that we couldn't see. It was our call. So you can't always trust it. Sometimes people move on you We were paged to the Pony Express and the patient was actually across the street in the open lot across the street. Especially calls up the mountain. Sometimes people pick them up and take them over to Buffalo if they're going that way, or take them to Worland if they're going that way. So you might get up there and find a car and no people. We spent a good time running around in a snowstorm hunting season about 2 or 3 years ago. And by the time we got it figured out where they were, the Fort stranger called it in, but to get service to call it in, he drove clear down to Buffalo. So it wasn't even paged out until he was in Buffalo, and so were the people. I'm sure they just kept going. From the sounds of it, I'm pretty sure it was altitude sickness, and he probably felt much better by the time he got off the mountain and just went home. But we have to be sure and cover. It's always fun to get the weird calls of the last big curve before 10 sleep, which to me is coming out of the mouth of the canyon. There's a big curve, but they were actually talking about the big switchback up on the mountain. So they were way off on their judgments. And we get calls from Bighorn County telling us to respond to the Knowood in Washakie County. Because apparently through that section, if you call 911, it goes to Bighorn instead of us. When you arrive at the scene, be sure you do a complete assessment of the scene. Today, as we drove up, you see a big truck on its side. There was something leaking. I think it was fuel, but I'm not sure. It was a cement truck. Again, that's our second cement truck this summer. Driver was actually standing with the trucks that were out front, so I just went to him and took care of him. And then when my other EMT hopped in, I went and looked at the truck to see what had caused the injuries and decide for sure if I could let him dismiss himself and refuse or what. If you are the first one, you need to be sure you find all the patients. Decide if it is a mass casualty. What makes it a mass casualty incident? More than you can handle locally. More than what you have with you can handle. Call more help if you need it as soon as you know you need it. If that means calling for the helicopter before you head up toward the wilderness area, get them called, get them coming. Even if you don't know your exact location, tell them the approximate area you're going to, and by the time you get there, they're close enough, they can zero right in on you and not be still 40 minutes out. Be sure and look for safety hazards. Evaluate what other assistance you need. Do you need the electric company to come turn the power lines off? Do you need firemen? Do you need extra hands to help you pick up the patient because they weigh 500 pounds? What standard precautions and PPE do you need to wear? Park in a safe place. It was really fun today. We thought we had parked in a good, safe place. And the firemen came and said, "Are they the ones? Yeah, move back, move back, move back." Then the deputies show up and say, "Move up, move up, move up." And we're going, make up your mind, guys. I mean, really, we went and got the patient, we put him in the ambulance and we're checking him out, and they keep telling us, move back, move up. Talk to your crew and each other. You can make a plan in advance, but that doesn't mean it's what you're going to find. Of how you're going to move this patient. We have a lady in our town that is visually impaired. And to get out of her house, you have a lot of stairs going either direction. But we've learned if we go out her back door and bring our cot and raise it up as high as it goes, we can take her straight from that upper landing to the cot and then drop it down and take her to the ambulance, and she doesn't have to do stairs. So make a good plan. If you have that, what's the word I want? The heavy people.
Bariatric.
Bariatric, that's it. If you have that bariatric patient, How are you going to get them out? I listened to people at a trauma conference one time talk about the man who weighed something like 1,200 pounds that had been living in a trailer house, hadn't been outside in years. His front step was rickety enough that when the firemen stepped on it to go into the trailer, it broke. So they knew they couldn't take him out that way because they fell through the step themselves. They've taken big front room windows, removed the windows so they could get the people out. This case, they had to cut the bedroom wall out and then fix it later. I don't think we have any that size in our town, but I didn't know we had a 500-pounder either, so you never know. So think about how you're getting them to the ambulance. Remember, if you have somebody who's got cardiac issues, you don't want them walking. If you must, because you got a lot of stairs, have somebody on both sides, making sure they're not going to go down on you. Stair chairs, be sure you know how to use all that. Know how critical the patient is, and if you have time to sit and splint things, or if you need to just get them in the rig and get moving and then mess with splinting. Do you need to start the IV right now, or do you need to get rolling? Like the one call on the one test question said. What do you not have time to do in a critical incident? Pretty much nothing but get driving fast. Be sure you let your hospital know you're coming. Be sure you don't just roll in the door with your patient and drop them off and abandon your patient basically by walking away. I watched a service do that once, came in and they had this lady on a backboard strapped down, no C-collar, flopped her on the bed and left. I mean, totally drove away before the nurse got to him. And I thought, what in the world are you people doing? And it was a little old lady who had fallen and probably should have had a C-collar on when you found out the story. So be sure you go in, give the doctors the full story. If they don't want to hear it, try the nurse first, because she's usually who you find first. Talk to the doctor if you have to, if the nurse blows you off and tells you to get out of the room. When you're done, after you transfer the patient care, you need to actually pay attention to what time that is, because they do ask that when you transfer the patient care now. Then, I don't know about you guys, but you need to get your patient care report done. We have to finish ours before we leave the hospital, and we don't start it till we're at the hospital, so we just kind of hang out there for a bit till we get it done. Then as you're headed back to the station, people can start cleaning and disinfecting while one's driving, putting everything back. Be sure you fuel up before you put it away, and make sure everything's back in order. Any questions on any of that? Your emergency vehicle operations class. I wanted for years and years to take this class, and I finally went to it in Cheyenne and was so excited, and they have changed the class. They don't really teach you how to drive. They pretty much tell you, don't drive with your lights and sirens. It doesn't save any time, hardly. It's not worth the odds of getting in a wreck. Drive super careful and pay attention to everybody around you. And that's about all the class was. I was really bummed. Because they used to have an obstacle course that'd make you go out and drive and back up and do all kinds of tricks.
Oh, I've done that.
Yeah, she still runs into doors.
We do that every year with Cody Regional. So,
do they still do the driving stuff?
We do. We did it. I think it was last fall. We did it out at the fairgrounds. So
cool. The
Warland Fairgrounds. So
I'll have to have a chat with them when they do it and get them to let us come play.
Yeah, it was really, really fun because one of the Warland trucks is one of the biggest trucks that you can order. So it's extra long, it's wider, it's taller. And yeah, we were using that one to do the back through this. Yeah, we had to do the go forward through the serpentine and then serpentine backing. Oh yeah, no, not cool.
That would be cool. We're just doing the lecture first and then we'll take care of that. There's gloves in the box there too, because I put them there. We've been forgetting to bring gloves for IVs, and now we have about 3 of them. So we have lots. Driving characteristics, be sure they are qualified to drive the ambulance. I know our service, you're supposed to be 21. They need to be in good condition, physical condition. They need to have, as we tell everybody, if you've had a beer, do not show up on the run. And definitely do not drive. Try not to drive when you're dead tired and asleep, because that's when a lot of wrecks in these small services, when you do transfers and you're coming back at 2 or 3 in the morning and you do things like I saw an ambulance. The nose was down, the back tires were up against the tree. I'm not sure what they did. I would really like to know, but it was a heck of a picture. They fell asleep, whatever happened. Take time driving when you can. Just go up to the ambulance bay sometime and just take it for a drive. Feel how it handles. Be sure you know how it accelerates and decelerates, how it goes around corners. We had one rig, if you were going around a corner and hit a rock, it would shimmy like crazy and everybody was sure they were going to die. We had it to mechanics 3 times, and finally my fireman, I came to the fire hall and the firemen were standing there leaning on the truck. And they said, we know what's wrong with it. There's a bolt missing. Do you want us to replace it? I don't know why a mechanic couldn't have found that, but they replaced it and we've had no trouble since. Keep a cushion of safety around you because there's a lot of blind spots to the rig that you cannot see. Anticipate the foolish things people will do when they see you, because they do everything from jumping in front of you to, I had one in Worland as I pulled up to the stoplight that was green my direction and I was turning left to go to the hospital, that decided they could cut across in front of me and turn left in front of me and it was okay. So they were going on a red light in front of me and they came inches from my bumper. My doctor in the back looked out and saw that and said, I'm calling dispatch. Did you get a driver's license number on that? Did you turn them in? And they may not be able to ticket them, but they will put the fear of God in them and they won't do it again. The rear view mirror itself can create a blind spot. Those little posts between your door and the windshield can make really big blind spots. Be sure you can see around. Remember, as you get into bad weather, you need to account for that because these rigs do slide and go all over the place. Even 4-wheel drive ones may not do as well as a smaller 4-wheel drive.
So Becky,
yes,
I've been told by 3 or 4 different law enforcement people that if somebody does not yield to you coming through with lights and sirens running, and you can catch their plate number, turn it in dispatch, it is a $500 fine.
Is it? Cool.
Yes.
We had an officer following us,
vehicle.
Headed to Worland recently, and some fathead passed the officer and was speeding up to pass us too. Imagine that, the officer nailed him and pulled him over. And they acted shocked.
Yeah, they told me, I was
cool.
I was talking with some law enforcement folks because I've had some issues running emergent between Manderson and Worland.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you can get the plates, turn it into dispatch and we will try to hunt them down and give them a ticket. They said it's a $500 fine. And
ideally, you know, every so often we have an officer who drives in front of us or behind us, gives us an escort. And it's actually less safe to do that because they watch the first lights and sirens go by and say woohoo, and they jump out in front of the second ones. So you got to be aware of that. But really, most accidents with ambulances are either from the drivers falling asleep or they occur in the middle of the day at an intersection with clear weather. Which is
we
really
had one.
silly.
We had one up in Cody that one of our ambulances was out on the West Strip.
Uh-huh.
And some tourists decided that they wanted to go to this food place, and they whip a U-turn right into the passenger side of the ambulance.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we have a truck that's out because it damaged not only the pickup front, but also the front of the box. So,
Not good.
and that's one that very, very tough to anticipate or avoid. I mean, it's just going to be one of those that kind of thing happens. It just happens.
Yeah, I was in Billings one time and I was going up to do my testing. So I pulled into the lane to turn into the hospital, and I realized there was an ambulance coming from behind me. And I was trying to get out of their way, but there was traffic coming towards me. And I finally just stopped where I was because I figured I was being worse than not helpful at all. The ambulance just glared at me as they went by. And I thought, well, you popped out of nowhere. I was watching. I was trying to get out of your way. Really, I was. Be careful to try and control your acceleration and your braking. Usually you have time to think about it and get sped up and you don't really have to romp on it. Sometimes braking, you don't have much choice. When you back up, have a spotter next to you if you can to guide you back. Watch out for bad road conditions. They say as police escort, like I said, is extremely dangerous. Unpaved roads. Guard got after me one time as I was going up a gravel road because he could hear the gravel hitting the bottom of the ambulance. He says, oh, but that handle's different. And I said, guard, I spend 90% of my driving time on gravel roads. I know what gravel roads are. The paved ones are a different case now, but the gravel I got down. School zones. We try to just avoid going through by the school altogether here. We detoured around today, took a couple extra blocks because lights and sirens attract children. They don't realize they need to stay back. We did have one day we were flying through Tin Sleep. Well, it was evening. I don't think it was totally dark yet. And there was some dear soul that was crossing the road that was drunk. Actually, you're not supposed to say that. He had ETOH on board. And he wandered straight towards our ambulance, just standing and stood there right there looking at us coming straight at him. And I thought, yes, this is why we have defensive driving classes. Dude, we can plow over you and scrape you up. You're not going to like it, but we can do it. Come on, get out of the way. The helicopters and the fixed wings. Well, we don't usually play with fixed wings much. You guys transport out to the airport for the fixed wings. But the helicopters we do deal with. Mostly it's just if you call for them to come, be sure you have a good landing spot for them. Get your GPS and get the locations to them if you can. They need to be, what is it, like 100 feet by 100 feet?
I think so.
And you need no power lines, preferably no trees, a nice open spot that they can land. Preferably level if you can, but up in the backcountry, sometimes they can't do that. It's always fun to watch them, those rescues from up there where they just kind of drop a rope and somebody grabs a person and up they go.
And sometimes you get a pilot come across your radio and say, well, I think I found a spot. I'm going to try it.
Yeah, I'm going to try this.
In a spot that I had looked at and went, it's not big enough. It's not level enough. It's got trees on the one side, boulders on the other. There's boulders in the middle of it. And I was like, eh. And he decided to try that and stuck it down there. I was like,
and it worked?
Crazy dude. He made it work, but I was like, you're a crazy dude.
Yeah, there are some agreed on spots. If you really don't have a good spot, you can start transporting the patient to a better spot. I know on Teton Pass, they actually take them down to, there's a big parking lot at the very bottom on the Idaho side. They'll take them down to that parking lot to meet the helicopter comes from Idaho Falls. So they go down there to meet them. Up on our mountain, we meet them often in the boat loading, the boat dock area at Meadowlark Reservoir. The area they were hoping to use down here is now a trailer subdivision. So that area is no longer available. Yeah. And they talked about using the football field, but there's so many power lines there, I don't know if they really can. Yeah, there's too many trees in the park. Guardian wanted to come help us with no Woodstock because they were hoping to use it for publicity and bring their helicopter in. And I said, there's no place in that park you're going to put a helicopter. They have so many trees and so many power lines in it, you're not going to get there. We can get you within a couple miles of it, but that's about the best we could do. If you have to approach one, be sure you take your hat off so it's not blowing into it and you're trying to grab for it and getting hit by the rotor. You approach it crouched from the front, kind of at a slight angle, not straight in, but a little bit of an angle where the driver can see you at all times. You don't approach the back at all. They usually direct us where we're headed. Consider night landings. They used to tell us to get your little location and then put your headlights on it so they can land on it. And now they say that's not necessarily needed because they have night vision things and you're messing them up by having the lights on.
Yeah.
So don't do that. If they do end up on uneven ground, approach from the lower side, never from the upper side, because that's the side the rotor's closer to the.
If you are trying to mark an LZ, do not use an LED light because they cannot see the LED lights with the night vision. It has to be a regular light.
Okay. If you have a hazmat incident, be sure they know about the hazardous stuff too. They need to be aware. Anything else you need to know? Don't shine lights, flashlights, or anything else up in the air to try to guide them down. You can just point the beams at where they want them to land if you have a flashlight. I think that's pretty much transportation. Anybody think of anything else?
So if you have a glow on a stick and you have a little bit of a cord, let's say if you just crack it and do this, is very, for them, it's really good to see.
Spin it around.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, hazmat class. Well, they throw an extrication in there too. The hazmat class, you can review this chapter, but the class itself is November 3rd in Thermopolis. If you can get there. If you want the certification, go to class. If you just want to review what you learned in the AEMT class, you're probably fine. It reviews the same stuff in here, reminding you how to look things up. Be sure and look if there are some funky odors. You get out and you say, that smells funny. It's not quite brakes. You find out what it is or don't approach until you get, because you get chased out. I still feel really dumb for that one because, yeah, the officer said, get back to that rig and you bring it over here and we will bring the patient to you. There's decon zones. If you have something they have the hot spot in the middle where the incident happened, then they have a warm spot where they're decontaminating them and they bring them to us in the cold zone. We stay in the cold zone. We do not go in there. We have very good hazmat people in Moreland. So he's kind of a pro. When they used to, when Ebola was a big thing, and they were teaching us what we needed to do if it were to happen here. We all decided that we were just turning the call over to our hazmat team and we were sending Coker and his bunch in there and we weren't going in the building at all. So you can review that chapter. Incident management. How much have you guys played with incident management? There is a national online ICS. We're all supposed to be certified in 700, 100, and 200. You can take them for free online. They're boring as all get out. If you think they're boring online, some people make it fun. They're good teachers of it, but others, they're just boring as all get out. So you have, this is, I think this still reads backwards to you guys, doesn't it? Did you read the board? Incident command. Whoever is first on scene is incident command until somebody else comes along and you turn it over to them. Firemen are really good at incident command. They don't really realize they're doing it, but they do it all the time. The one time I actually did it wrong. Man, we had a wreck on the mountain. Well, it was a logging truck with a pup trailer. The pup trailer broke loose and all the logs, it tipped over and all the logs tipped off. By the time we got there, he was backed up to it and had his little claw and he was putting it back on its wheels and reloading it. So I looked at Tim and thought, well, he's not injured. So I told my other EMT, okay, we are directing traffic, and we went down. I went as far as I could to still see the scene, so I had room to make people slow down. Sent her up to the other corner because we only had one lane of traffic and we had to direct through. So we took over that. In the meantime, the highway department found out about it. One of them came zipping up with his signs. He saw me, hit the brakes, backed up, put the sign back down where it should have been to warn people it was there. It went really good. Firemen have little stop signs and the vests, and they're all official. We just had a little flag we were waving. And these bikers came up, and as soon as they would turn the corner for me, they would see it, and then they would all stop slowing down. I mean, they would slow down because of me. But this one car, when the motorcycle slowed down, the car sped up when it saw the incident. So I told him, because I thought he was going to hit the motorcycles. And the dear little car turned on his lights. It was the highway patrolman. But I had just said, slow down. So when we were done directing traffic and the firemen showed up and came and replaced us, I got to go up to this same officer and said, okay, I'm officially turning over incident command to you, and you let dispatch know. Dispatch, I'm turning incident command over to this person. And then I had to tell him that he was the highlight. I have never been able to tell a highway patrolman to slow down before. And he just made my day. And he just laughed and laughed and laughed. He was at a basin and this wasn't really his area, but he happened to be the closest one at the time. So he volunteered to come up. And he did get a little overexcited. He said, yeah, I wasn't paying attention to them. I was watching the wreck. So it was kind of fun. You have your incident command. Anything bigger, as it gets bigger and bigger, the incident gets bigger. This gets bigger. Most of what we have, we can turn incident command over to our officers. Our firemen go out and they do their job of keeping us all safe. And we go out and we do our medical stuff. As I trained for all this, I've gone clear through 300, 400. I decided, you know what? I'm going to be the one down here that they're sending out to take care of people anyway. Why do I need to know all this? But you never know. You might be first on scene. So usually there's an operations person and you have a safety officer. If you ever go to a wildland fire that lasts longer than a day, you have a safety officer every morning that briefs them on. These are the safety hazards, and this is our lesson for today, and this is what we need to do to keep you safe. You have the public information officer. They have special classes training anybody who's interested in learning to do that. That's the dear little soul that goes out and talks to the press. And very carefully answers only what can be answered and doesn't say anything other than that. All the rest of us tell press, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you, go talk to them, which is much nicer. You have your planning division. They investigate it, they formulate a plan. We kind of do that on our own in our things as we all get together quick and say, okay, what's our plan to get this person up off the floor? Well, we're going to try this. Oh, what about, yeah, let's do that. And we make a plan and we all go do it. You have your logistics person. As you're going to a run, you want to make sure you have everybody you need. Well, look, the power's out. I need to call for the power guys to come turn that off because that line's down over here. I need a huge crane and another giant tow truck to come get a stinking cement truck back on its wheels so they can get it out of the way and out of where it is. The first cement truck that went over actually took 9 hours and 2 cranes to get back on the truck and get it out. They had it on the truck and it fell off. Do we need supplies? Are we there long enough? We need food and water. Do we have fuel? You fire guys when you go out on fires? You don't have fire guys in here. Angie's a fire guy. When you go out on fires, you need to make sure you have a source to refill your water tanks when they're empty. I think it's cool how they get this big old pool set up quick and dump a bunch of water in it and all the little trucks come over and fill up. Fun to watch.
It's there
And
again.
then
It
you have your
depends on the
finance
size of the
people.
incident.
If you get into a big incident and you need reimbursed and paid for being there, they're your buddy, and you have these cute little books you have to fill out and keep track of. So basically, that's what incident command is. When you report to anything that's big, even if it's a wildland fire, you show up and say, okay, this is incident command. I'm here. Where do you want me to stage? And they tell you where to go and hang out. Because people can get very overwhelmed in big incidents like that concert in Las Vegas. They had ambulances come from everywhere. They had over 100 ambulances, all trying to get into that little little bitty spot where the concert was, while everybody there is busy fleeing and all the traffic going the other way. They did, and they had people just throwing them all in. And the problem with that too is they all went to the nearest ERs and filled it with all the walking wounded instead of the serious wounded. They overwhelmed them with the little guys because they took them themselves. That's what the EMS triage, you get to triage. I mean, you say who goes where. Hopefully it's not going to be as crazy.
It's a really good movie. There is 14 minutes. Yeah. So the whole incident.
Those Billings Clinic classes that you can go look up and watch later. There's a train wreck in a town not much bigger than Tinsley, really. But the train just went by it and it wrecked, and it was on a day that there was a wedding going on. So the firemen and the EMS go running, including a whole bunch of the wedding party. And all the farmers brought their tractors, and they had to actually break into these trains to get people out. And they had a clinic with an emergency room, but it was manned by a nurse and an ER tech, and I think that's all that was there. And they had like 200 people. So they were calling doctors in. It was just fascinating to hear how people in little small areas handle these. The Utah Trauma Conference, if anybody ever makes it to that one, always has a scenario of some big wreck that happened in some small town, telling everybody what they learned about it and how to take care of it. It gives you a lot of good ideas. Oh yeah. Even in Little Old Tinsley, our mass casualty incident one time was a 7-car wreck up on the mountain. And it was nuts. It was because the road north to Billings was closed. The road through Yellowstone was closed. The canyon was having all the landslides at that point in time. It was a stormy, melty time of year. So there were a whole bunch of rock slides in the canyon in Thermopolis, and the pass going up out of Shell. I think they had part of a highway slid off, and they had to close that. So this right here was the only way for anybody to get out of Bighorn Basin. And we didn't really realize that till we were in the middle of it. So we got up there and somebody was coming down and they weren't paying attention, and they pinged off this car and pinged off that car and pinged over here and smashed into there, and it ended up being, I think it was 7 vehicles. And we had like 12 people involved. And if you hear Guard tell the story, I'm the evil one because I did not do the triage, and there were no officers there, but that's not true. We parked right at the officer in front of us. I don't care what dispatch said, there was an officer in front of us when we stopped. And then I got greeted by a nurse who said, this is who you have. And she told me everybody in each car, where they were at. She even told me about the 2 up there that are off in the trees right now, but they're just walking wounded. And I said, okay. And I took her triage, which he said I should not have done, but she triaged excellently. Everything she said was exactly true. I mean, usually somebody's not going to come give you a rundown like that unless they really know what they're doing. And she said things like, okay, in this car, you have probably a broken femur. Her ankle is tangled in the pedal and is complaining of back pain. The one behind her is complaining of back pain. The one over there is not bad off. And over here you have, and she ran through the whole list. So we just went to the most injured trying to get, well, we couldn't get the most injured out. We had to get the one behind her out first. So then we could get her out. We didn't have extrication to be ripping doors off. So we had to figure out how to move the seat back so we could get her out. Anyway, I got in trouble for not doing it right. And then he stood up and said, did you know there were 2 more up there in the trees? And I said, yes, I did. And I can tell you why they were in the trees. Because they had drugs with them and they were hiding it before the officers showed up. So, yes, I knew what was going on. I can tell you what each car had and why. But yes, we dealt with Buffalo Hospital, ambulance. We had Worland ambulance involved. We had both of our ambulances up there. And a lot of them weren't really hurt. Some of them were allowed to go home and not be transported. But that's fun. As you show up, they immobilize you. And when you get done and you become, they called you surplus. So you become surplus where you're hanging out until they get done, make sure all the paperwork and all your ducks are in a row before they let you go home until you're done. Somebody has to keep a record of all these people. And like the train wreck where you have 200 people. Oh, there was a bus going up out of Shell. It was full of non-English speakers that wrecked. You have to try to keep track of, this is a spouse of this person, so if we can, we'll put them to the same area if we can. If not, we got to keep track of, okay, we sent this kid over here. Where's this kid's parents? Right. Do we have parents here somewhere? They each have a number. Remember, size up. Is it safe? Is it not? What resources do I need? Get them called. When they did that mock accident last fall, they knew that 10 Sleep was ready to play with them, and they did not page 10 Sleep until 38 minutes into the incident. Yeah. They showed up about the same time as the helicopter, and people said, well, you guys didn't get there. You didn't page us. So, yeah, you need to think about it. You can't just assume, okay, dispatch knows that we have all this going on. They should be paging automatically. No, you have to ask. I don't know. Sometimes they dispatch people. In the medical department, you have, say, a triage supervisor. And in the MCI, you need someone in charge of triage. And they might have a handful of people. Your job in triage is simply to go out and give them all little tags. You're not taking vitals. You're not treating. You walk in, you say, anybody who can hear me, come to me. Which teaches you 2 things. Everybody that can come to you can get to you. They can follow orders. They're oriented. They can breathe, and they're moving. They sit over here in the little green area. But you need somebody in the triage area keeping track of these people because people go up and down. Usually not up. They usually get worse. Because, yeah, I was fine when I walked over here, but you know what? I really can't breathe now because that bee stung me when I was over there. And now I can't breathe. And it becomes more of an emergency. So you have your triage supervisor. Then you have a group of people who are treating. We had, did we do a mock accident? I think we did. I think we had a fake plane crash in Worland years ago because every airport was required to have one. And they practiced it and they learned a lot from it. And then one day we were actually having a class that night, and both Ten Sleep and Whirlwind got paged out because they had a plane coming in that night with, it was like 18 passengers or so, and they could not get their landing gear down. So we were all called out. And we actually put Ten Sleep on hold because we had such a huge group in there. We responded because we were already in town for class. But we showed up. And they had their little triage areas. Here's mats and the colors. Here's all the tape. Here's the markers. Here's your stuff. You're going out to triage. Here's your colored tapes. Here's your tags. Here's your, this is what you're doing. This is your area. This is your, we had it all down pat. They were ready to foam. The fire truck was there ready to foam the runway if they had to. Meanwhile, they were flying around trying to get rid of as much fuel as they could before they had landed in case they did have to come to the skidding crash landing. And somehow they did manage to get their gear down. Yes, thank God. They got their gear down, they landed safely, and we're all working on getting back to our vehicles and going home. And they were coming out going, oh, did you see all those lights? Gosh, I wonder what that was. It must have been a girl. And we're going, you guys have no idea how close you just came to being a buddy. But, you know, we didn't tell them. But that's why we do drills. They did a mock school shooting in Moreland. It was a disaster. Then they came and did one in Ten Sleep. It was a disaster. They did a second one in Moreland. It went perfect. They never redid the one here. I wish they would have come back here and done another one. What they learned from Ten Sleep is Ten Sleep and Moreland need to work together. We had one person that could start IVs, and she said, well, it's only me, and I can only start one IV. And the other person looked at the rest of the EMTs and said, how many of you can start IVs? And every one of them raised their hands. She went, oh. I had an EMT get mad at me because she was patting down. I moulaged these patients. They all talked. Nobody talked to the patient. I mean, I could throw a mannequin out there if you're not going to talk to them. They were all trained. They could talk to you. Nobody asked them anything. I watched somebody, they eventually got him into the gym in the colored areas. And I watched one guy as they were trying to find his triage tag. Do they really need to know what your vitals are to triage somebody? Oh, I started into that. I couldn't get lost, didn't I? Here's the ADD. I watched this person pick up this kid. He was a man, he was a teacher. Rolled him over, patting him down, found something in his back pocket, dropped him about that far to the ground after picking what was in his pocket out, looked at it, and it was a check and went, oh, that's not it. Picked the man up, shoved it back in his pocket, and dropped him to the ground again. Well, I'm just going. And I think, okay, I'm not going to have anybody come be fake victims anymore because they're going to be terrified of this. Honestly, I could not believe this man did this. Finally, this has been now, I don't know, 15 years later, I finally told this man what he did, and he said, I did that. I was so mad, I didn't even go up and talk to him. Any of them. I had had it, I was ready to bring them all up. Another one went and was patting him down looking for the tag and was reading the tag, and I was slapping her hand because you don't need the tag. Well, I don't know what her blood pressure is. You don't take her blood pressure. That's not part of it. Okay, so what you do, you walk in, everybody, you can hear me, come here. Then you start walking through the other people, get people in a systematic pattern. You say, okay, you go down this road, I'll go down there, for the school. You take the high school hall, you take the middle school hall, you take the elementary hall, let's go. And you start saying, okay, we're starting on the right-hand side, curving around, going, somebody else take that back hall. So it's organized. You walk up to people. Are they breathing? If they're not breathing, you open their airway. If they start breathing, they get you tear off the black and they get a red tag. No, green tag. Green who has to go first, right?
Red. They would get a red tag at that point.
Red, right. You tear off the black and you have the red tag visible. Immediate, they need to go. And you stick that old tag on and they get taken to the red area as soon as people can start clearing them out. But first, you need to triage everybody. Why do I need to triage everybody? This guy really has to go. Okay, we were on the mountain one time and had 4 people who had been run over by the trailer behind, big old heavy trailer that was behind the motorcycles during Sturgis week. All 4 of them needed oxygen desperately. Patient number 1 really needed out of here right now. Ambulance took her, left me and equipment, and had Worland on their way here. So this dear little paramedic from Texas, who thought he was smart, hops in and says, "Oh, look, they left this." And I said, "They left me too." "Oh, I'm putting the oxygen on this one." And I said, "Nope, this one gets the oxygen." He said, "But this one," I said, "I agree, that one needs it. This one needs it more." And he brought it over, dropped it off, and disappeared and didn't say any more. And I didn't see him again. He just vanished. Not for helping, but you know, but unless you're going to triage them all to see who needs it most, you're not giving the care where it needs to be. When triaging, your goal is to save as many savable people as possible. So if somebody doesn't have a heartbeat, we can't start CPR because their odds of surviving are not very high compared to this person over here who's bleeding out and needs the blood stopped. You got to spend your time on the urgent people. So, are they breathing? If so, assess the breathing. Is it, if it's really fast or really slow or really labored, they're red. If not, you check a pulse, I believe. Faster than 30 or slower than 10, they're immediate, they're a red tag. If they're breathing in between 10 to 29, you carry on to the next step. You check the hemodynamics status by checking for bilateral radial pulses. What do you know if somebody has a radial pulse? That's above 90. Make sure it's on both sides. If there's something like a spurting blood, stop it. Or yell at somebody, "Hey, you over there that just walked over here for me, come here, hold this right here, thanks." And then you can move on. Because you don't want to be stuck trying to put pressure for the whole time. You can hand something to them and let them put pressure on if they're alert enough. You check for neurologic status, ask them to follow a simple command. Hold up 3 fingers. If they cannot follow a simple command, what do we know about it? They have an altered mental status. Where does altered mental status go? They are red. They get out of here. Okay. Then you have the ones. Those are your guys who go first. They're your red tags, priority 1, need out of here. You then radio to your little person over here that's transporting. I have 16 red people. I have 3 yellow, and I have about 10 or 30 that are just green. Because those 16 were standing next to the whatever it was when it blew up. So they're all red. Black tag is people who are either already dead or have little chance to survive. If they basically all but bled out, and there's a lot of other people that need your attention, they aren't going to survive. You don't have time to give what little resources you have to them, unfortunately. Okay, so I went to Casper when they did their plane crash. And their scenario was a life flight helicopter that crashed into a plane. And they actually went to the butcher shop and got a bunch of big bones, scattered them all over the place where the helicopter landed. We triaged 200 people that were on the plane with the injuries we were given to triage. We had 2 people, because the sets usually have 100. We had 2 people having heart attacks and 2 people having babies. And they found pretty much everybody except at the end of the first hour. One of the 2 they still had not found was a heart attack. They hadn't found him yet. And I don't remember what the other one was. But they had these really cool glasses that they gave me because I was an observer. And you could punch it and it would start recording, it would video it. And then you'd touch it when you moved off to some other spot and you'd touch it again. And so it recorded everything you did. It was kind of fun. I had, my favorite was the fireman that was come up to this lady who was in labor. And he would talk to her the first time he talked to her and asked a bunch of questions and says, okay, we'll get somebody here for you. And then he took off. And after that, is she still sitting there, which in all reality, is she going to be a priority? No, she does not qualify for red. So he would come start up again to go talk to her, and then he'd realize who she wasn't. He would be way people want to talk to her because he knew he couldn't help her yet. So he just detoured. And honestly, in Moreland, that second school shooting, they gave me somebody to transport, and halfway to the hospital, she flipped her tag over and said, my heart just stopped. And I said, well, you're dead. Let's kick you out on the sidewalk and go get somebody else. She said, what? No, you guys are supposed to do CPR. And I said, in reality, not in an MCI. I'm sorry. It's tough to tell you that, but not in an MCI. She was not very happy. No, we went ahead and took her to the hospital and threw her out, but said she's dead and went on her way. And she was offended and hoped that they would do something different. And they said, no, if you're dead, go sit over there. And I had to teach our Homeland Security guy that, yes, we do not do CPR in the MCI because that's not the best use of our resources. I mean, you're taking a lot of people to get it going. Yeah, that's your Dr. Racy. On our MCI last year, he was doing CPR. Yeah, she bled out. That was the one scene when they posted all the pictures from our practice training. Facebook actually covered that picture of the mannequin because it had gone through the windshield. It's what they had a broken windshield and we made it look like she went through the windshield. And they blanked that one out because it was violent. And I thought, really, they show all the people that are bleeding to death, but not the mannequin. Anyway, the other thing you need to consider, if you are sending people transporting to various places, how do you decide where you're sending them? Okay, you need to know your closest places because you always want them. Okay, pretend we're in Denver. Where they need to go. Heart attacks, going to cath lab. Trauma's going to where the surgeons are. Yeah, so transporting, that makes more of a headache for the people who are trying to keep track of where people are going. They tell you to take them and then they know where they're at. Yep. The one on the mountain, we sent people to Buffalo. Buffalo took people back to Buffalo. It was on the mountain up here. You use whoever you need. Was it last? It was last winter that the page came out, and I was in Moreland to the firemen about a truck loaded with propane tanks on fire at the gas station. It gave me a heart attack. No, here at the Pony Express. So this guy, we passed him as we went into Moreland, and we smelled him as he went by and said, he's got brakes burning bad. And that was as he left Moreland. So by the time he got here, his back tires were on fire. And where does he go? He tries to pull into the Pony Express. Why in the world would you park next to a gas tank with tires on fire? Luckily, he didn't make it. He stayed out in the gutter, but I was panicking, thinking, well, I hope they evacuate the school. I hope they evacuate everybody.
I went right to the ambulance. We weren't even paged out. I drove by.
Well, that was crazy. Okay. So, the reason I make you learn all this is something that came about. Was it Hurricane Katrina that really brought it out to the forefront? There was some big hurricane. And they found that as people got together, they used different, like 10 codes. All officers don't use the same 10 codes. That's why 10 codes were thrown out. Everybody needed to be able to work together, and you needed one person who knew all the answers, who everybody worked through. So when you come back here and you report, this is what I found. This person then reports to the person above them, who then reports to the person above them. So incident command is only dealing with about 5 people, 3 to 5 people. And everybody only has 3 to 5 people underneath them. So as the incident gets bigger and bigger, it just keeps multiplying so that everybody's only dealing with this many, and yet all the information is flowing back where it needs to be. All right. Who you have? And who went with who? Because they gotta find each other someday. Tonight. I walked up this time and opened right up. And I walked up tonight, and I'm going to function, it just opened. And the light was still red, so that wasn't what was doing it. Okay,
We just have.
you want a break or do you want to go straight to grading papers? Straight to grading papers. Who do I have on here? McKenna, Brennan, Regina, Barbara, Angie, and me. Is everybody taking it? Buck just showed up and we handed him the test and booted him out the door. That's where he's been. I got a message. I think that's from Brennan. Get out of here. Okay, who said they'd get the test? Yeah, Brennan did. Yeah, Brennan just got back from the life flight thing and had to get his room put back together. He's recording it. He might be back, I don't know. Because I told him we were going to grade it first. So Brennan, if you're there, don't listen unless you're done with your test. Okay, number 1, golden hour refers to receiving surgical intervention within 1 hour. From incident to surgical.
Wow.
I'm ALS. Okay, the golden hour has stretched to be in like 2 hours. So if you're out here in the middle of nowhere, way up in the Tules, your golden hour is shot. Is that our fault? No, we do the best we can. We didn't put you way in the Tules, you did. Well, you might want to call Life Flight if you can, or yeah. We had a call that was like 2 hours away from here. And they had, it turned out everybody kind of converged at once. They had a helicopter from Cody, a helicopter from Casper, Buffalo, and 10 sleep ambulances. And we don't know what happened to Cody Regional. Angie, I'd be curious to know. They blew past me and said they were going on up and nobody ever saw them again. So we don't know if they got lost or if they heard everybody was there and then gave up and went home. They had called it. They might have went home. Yeah. We had an EMT that already lived up there, so they scurried up there with her. Did she have her AED with her? Seriously, Cody didn't have her AED with her? Well, she was at the school.
Oh.
Too bad. All right. So answer is yes, surgical intervention, B. Which of the following is considered an appropriate reason to delay transport of a seriously ill, injured patient? It is D, none of the above. Don't waste time on scene trying to get IVs in. Yep, get them moving. Now, I would argue an exception to that. Our patient recently, our burn person that needed that airway, they stopped and put the airway in. That's not the airway, that's an IV. That could have been done en route. It was the airway. And if he hadn't got that airway, because it was burned, if he hadn't gotten it then, they wouldn't have had one. Because that's swelling up on you the whole time. But that's not IV. IVs can be done. That's why we learned to do them bouncing down the road. Blunt trauma. This was a weird answer, but if you think about it, it was true. A, results from a change of speed and compression. It was A. Which of the following causes the initial injury in a blast? It's the pressure wave that comes from the blast. Did you look in the book first?
No, I looked afterwards. I mean, no, but I didn't even have my book with me at work. But,
Pressure wave, then the objects, and then whatever you slammed
I
into.
wanna look at
I don't know. The pressure wave that accompanies a bullet as it travels through the human tissue is called B, cavitation. Stroke volume is what?
C.
D.
Is that D or C?
D is in dog. Seven, an increase in the force of myocardial contraction caused by stretching of the myocardial muscles is referred to as. This is going to be a hard one for you. Probably most of you missed it. You put B, you win.
yeah, I put C, but I thought, I was like, it's probably B because I have no idea what that is.
It's B, Starling's law. And the only reason I threw that in there is because now you know it's Starling's law. In case it pops up. Blood pressure can be reduced by all of the following except you put C, increase myocardial contractility. Well, no, that's correct. That will increase your blood pressure, not reduce it. Sympathetic vasoconstriction during shock results in. What is vasoconstriction? Your blood vessels cramping down. Okay. C, pale cool skin. In shock, anaerobic metabolism occurs as a result of. Correct.
B.
Hypoxia at the cellular level. That was 10. 10 is B, yes. Hemoglobin. A, protein that contains iron and bonds the oxygen. You're called to the scene of a 60-year-old man, yada, yada, yada. The severity of his injury is considered what? D critical. Why is it D critical? Not just his nose, but his voice is already hoarse. He has sooter on the mouth, so you know that airway needs in now. our airways won't work. The advanced airways we do are not going to help this burn patient. This is an ET tube. It has to go through those vocal cords because that's what's swelling shut. They would have to crack if they didn't get it in.
No,
Becky can't what? Technically, I can intubate. We don't carry the equipment and we've never done it. That's what got me in trouble. Letting somebody use that equipment that told me they could. And they lied. They were not certified to do it.
so if you read this, mechanisms of blast is the primary, is the blast injury due to the blast wave itself.
Yeah,
It doesn't say anything about.
the pressure wave is the blast wave.
pressure wave.
The blast wave is pressure.
Looking for the word pressure, I'm like, there's nothing that, and then it says secondary blast due to missiles being propelled by blast force. Wow, where's that at?
Ooh. Now they're fighting over the book. Okay, guys, remember questions on National Registry are not going to come from a particular book.
Right. But if I don't, because it says the blast itself. So
Okay, 13, the approximate percentage of this guy's burn injury is.
See,
You're correct. C, 18 to 20.
I think
quit
the
doing
rules
that.
are 9, this is 9, this is.
Erin is one of those souls that does a whole lot better on computer testing because she can't erase it. You know, in my opinion, I'm not as worried about what your score is on the test as what you learned from taking. Does that make sense? And it gives you information now that you say, oh, well, okay, I should have said that. Okay, I'm one of those people that, I mean, I don't think you should have grades in school. I'm sorry. I think you should be there to learn because you want to learn. And I learn a lot better without having to worry about some tests. And I think teaching to a test is one of the dumbest things we ever do. Although we have to teach you how to approach the test. I've got a class for you to watch before you take it. Oh, Thursday or Saturday. Our next Saturday class is on, which is what? 28th. I hope that's not what day he said. I would really like to do that one in person and do all the practical stuff. If we can get as many of us together as we can to make sure everybody has those practicals down.
where?
You have what going on? Oh, this Saturday. If all else fails, I'm at the, I'm at the, problem. Because if somebody really has to be transported, we only need one in the back. We do have firemen that are there. And I'm there. They'll come take my stick anytime. They all understand that I'm more important there than there. I mean, anybody can hold a stick on the chains. Okay, 14. With tension pneumothorax. The mediastinum starts getting pushed. Exactly, which is what causes the tracheal shift, which goes to the opposite side because it's being pushed this way, so that gets pushed that way. So B, 14 is B. Drain trauma, compression of the chest may.
D.
D, cause traumatic asphyxiation. We are not talking about CPR compressions. We're talking about something big, heavy falling on top of the person. That's right, it says during trauma. Which of the following signs is not usually associated with a skull fracture?
D.
What'd you say?
D. D as in dog.
The mental status will go down. The stuff will drain from the ears. You get the battle sign behind the ears, but your blood pressure goes up.
Yeah, D.
So the answer is D, correct. If it goes down, you're not real worried about, because yeah, the head, it goes up, up, up. Most important sign indicating that ICP is increasing is
The B as in boy.
B as in boy, deterioration of the level of consciousness. See, you second guess yourself. Spinal shock. 18. First of all, do we lose blood from the spinal cord? No. B is the answer. It's B as in boy. Well, to be honest, 18 through, are you listening? 18 through 22 are all B.
Yeah. Oh,
2 is B.
yep.
22, treatment for this patient includes. Oh, that isn't the right one. It's D. Oh, dang it, I marked that one wrong.
Oh, I did myself too.
22, answer is D. I don't know what I was looking at. I must have put 21 in the wrong spot.
No, I got it.
22 is D.
Nice.
Okay. Because we all know you don't push them back in. You do not use a dry dressing. You want to keep it moist. Straightening the legs is not going to help. It's just going to put pressure on it. Oh, absolutely. And you're going to put the wet dressing and then an occlusive dressing and keep it warm. Remember, those organs are losing a lot of heat. They don't have insulation around them because they're not supposed to be out there in the cold. Okay, 17-year-old patient got smucked with a large wrench. This patient is experiencing what? 23.
B.
That's a
Blunt.
17-year-old patient.
23 is still about.
No. 22, then you have your next scenario. It just isn't on the right page. It didn't work out that way. Okay. 23 is B as in boy, blunt abdominal trauma. 24, what organ is most likely ruptured? The liver. 25, treatment of this patient includes D, prompt transportation to a trauma center. Step on it. Well, how much blood are you losing out of that liver? Can we fix it?
Yeah.
We can't fix it.
Oh, no, well, at the hospital.
We can fix it with diesel fuel.
Yeah.
High flow diesel.
I was
Go.
gonna say if you have a paramedic, they can try pushing some TXA, but
Say what?
you know that a paramedic could try pushing TXA, but that's probably about the only way you'd have
They could try.
any kind of hope.
It depends on how big things are and what's going on. If people are coming towards you, that helps too, but get them moving, don't wait. 25, we did 25. 26, baseball park for the guy who got beat up by a bat. It is a open fracture. What major artery is found in the thigh? Femoral, amniotic sac. What does the amniotic sac do? Okay, do you want, well, I guess, yeah. It surrounds the baby and protects the developing fetus. That's its job in life. it ruptures during labor, not necessarily before. 29, sometimes they don't rupture and they have to go in and break it. Ooh. There's a picture online of a baby that was actually born still in the sac. That's pretty cool. Cardiovascular changes in pregnancy include. It is B as in boy. It is. Blood flow increases, uterine blood flow. You need lots of blood flow to keep the baby going, which is what starts cutting down if the mama gets injured and she starts losing blood. Okay, pregnant patient, 20 weeks or more should be placed on her left side, correct. Eclampsia is present when the patient experiences D, coma and seizures, convulsions.
31 D.
I didn't, that's the way the test said it. I didn't change it. Okay, placenta previa. Well, there's a lot of things that lead up to it, but that's the dividing line. Placenta previa, I don't really like their definition of this one either. C, the placenta is in an abnormal location. It's down below the baby.
Yep.
Where it's not supposed to be. First stage of labor begins with and ends with.
B.
It is B, regular contractions that cause the cervix to dilate until the cervix is fully dilated. Entering the birth canal is stage 2. Yep. And then baby enters the birth canal until baby is born is stage 2. Placenta is stage 3. Okay, APGAR score should be performed.
B.
APGAR score.
B.
1 minute and repeat in 5 minutes. And you don't necessarily have to pull your little phone out and look up APGAR score to decide exactly what it is. Take a mental picture. This is what baby looks like now. This is what baby looks like now. And answer it. Kind of like our classical coma score that we really kind of answer when we get to the answer sheet. We have a rough idea. You got pictures in there, especially if they panic you. To reduce postpartum bleeding, the AEMT should. Is a massaging her abdomen do squat?
C.
You have to actually find that uterus and you're massaging the uterus, not the abdomen.
Ah.
So
what?
Give the baby to mama to breastfeed. It contracts.
Ah.
I know it's a fussy question, but it's deep. You're not just going to go massaging here, though. You're going to find that uterus and massage the uterus. Exactly. Okay. Following delivery, CPR should be delivered to a newly born baby when? Answer is C. If the heart rate's less than 60. Although as baby's heart rate, you can try oxygen to see if it comes up, but don't wait very long because if it's less than 60, get doing compressions. Because oxygen can help it come up. Leading cause of death in neonatal period is associated with infants who are low birth weight. Low birth weight babies don't do real wonderful. Narcotic use by the mother is going to have the baby do what after delivery? A, same thing it does to mama. Respiratory depression. 39. Children between 5 and 14 years, what's the most common reason by by EMS? Answer is B. B as in boy. For that same age group, they miss more school, for the record, due to asthma. But trauma's why they call us. They don't always call us for asthma, do they? Even sometimes when they should have. In my years being an EMT, we lost a 16-year-old because parents didn't call us because she assured them she was fine and they went to sleep like she told them to.
Or trauma or asthma?
Asthma. No, a long time ago. So asthma is a big thing to us, and airway scares the snot out of us because, well, me, I'm the only one left that went through that, but I will stick in my brain forever. Leading cause of CPR in children is C, respiratory compromise. Their heart stops because their breathing stops. Respiratory compromise. Take care of that airway. Okay, it's cold in the winter. You show up to an 11-year-old boy. Patient is most likely suffering from D, severe hypothermia. Treatment would include get those wet clothes off. I had to laugh at to give him a shot of alcohol. Quick way to get out of EMS and lose everything you own. Your partner suggests a patient should be placed on a full backboard. His rationale for doing that might be
B.
B, could have a back or neck injury. Why would he suspect that?
He fell.
Because he's found in the bottom of the ravine. Okay. Airway management in the elderly population could include
D.
it's A.
Okay. 44.
44 is A.
Okay.
Dentures and partial dentures can get loose and block airways. But when you get to, I don't remember if I put this one in here, when it comes to trying to give breaths to if you're doing CPR and such, you need those teeth in place to have something to make a seal against, if possible. Medications administered to the elderly patient. Okay. Are they metabolized more effectively? No. Are they typically broken down more rapidly?
No.
No. Do they have a shorter length of action?
Yeah.
Do they? It takes it longer to metabolize. Is it going to have a shorter length of action?
No, you're right. Yeah.
They may compete with the normal metabolic process is what you're after. 45, B
B.
is B. They can become toxic because the level gets higher than it should be. In elderly patients. Which one? 46. Cardiac function and cardiac output are reduced. $46, yeah, it was A. 47, because I kind of lean towards all of the above kind of in some ways, but no, it was A. 47, a speech disorder. This is something that I've got thrown in here just to be curious. This is once again like the Starling's Law, where a person has a difficulty saying what he or she wants to say in a correct and consistent manner, like I have every occasion while I'm teaching. It's called what? No,
A.
it's B, apraxia.
Dang.
So we're talking of people like some of the autistic people, your special populations, or where we're heading into here. What is tinnitus?
Not
Ringing in your ears.
Right?
Aphasia is inability to talk.
But
They're just having difficulty saying it.
no,
Which of the following occurs with decompensated shock? I went back to shock because I thought this was the most important chapter. D is in dog. The compensatory mechanism fail and normal function can no longer be maintained. Thirst. Sure you do.
B.
It's B.
Okay.
It occurs when your body is out of fluids. Your body starts holding more water because you have no fluids. And it definitely balances the water in the body because that's what tells you go drink. You need water, which is why sometimes when you're deciding how much fluid to give a patient, once you get your IV in, I may have them stick out their tongue or ask them if they're thirsty. The ones who are saying, please, I need water, I'm thirsty, and have a super dry tongue, you can give more water to because they are dehydrated. In neurogenic shock, what happens? It's B, as in boy, the blood pools and the blood vessels. Why? Because of neurogenic shock, all the blood vessels open up and your container gets huge and it doesn't get back to the heart like it should. You missed it.
4, 5, 6, 8.
Please, no, no, no.
Wait.
Let me ask my question. Number 4 was, yeah.
The pressure? Yeah, see how she is? I was here, but was working while listening.
I wanted that right.
All right. So I should make a note of who all was here. We have. This is the other problem I'm going to have. If I start asking you what classes you missed, be patient with me. I write down names, but I'm not good at writing dates and getting it all put where it belongs. Barbara, unmute yourself for a second.
I'm here.
Do I have it correct that you are just here for the hours and not necessarily the credit? Is that right?
Yes, I just need instructor hours.
Okay. So I add you like as in CEs on
Yes, everything you put in for them that I do, then yeah.
is CEs. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. Just wanted to be sure I had it right.
Yep.
McKenna, she's who I don't have on here yet.
So Becky,
Yes.
will these count for us for hours for like if we don't take the test at the end to renew our basic EMT?
If you do not take the AEMT class, yes, you can use it for basic EMT hours.
Okay.
But I'd rather see you take the A test.
Amen. I was gonna tell you I took the class from the Billings Clinic the other day, and it was very good. I will recommend it. It's the second Tuesday of every month, 1 hour, and I just submitted 2 hours.
Life lately, I wanted to go take that and I missed it at the current time. I can't remember what happened, but something happened and I thought, well, that's okay. I have 2 days to take it. I got back to it on day 3.
I
can still watch it you guys, you can go back and watch those still. You just can't claim credit
Yeah.
because you won't get a certificate. And that's where the very good one about the train wreck, if you want to learn more about mass casualty things, is on there somewhere.
Okay.
'Cause that
Yeah,
was
I
a
need to
very
go
good one.
back. I need to go back and watch you said you recommend the abdominal trauma, that you said that was a good one. So I need to go watch them in YouTube.
I don't think I've ever seen a bad one,
Oh, it was good training.
in all honesty. And the ones, I think have I told you guys about Centura?
No.
I need to get that sent to you guys. Centura is a hospital group down in Colorado who also has all their past things on you can go on and look at past webinars, and they have current ones. And every spring they do, just as you're coming up on research time for national, they do a 20-hour week for basic recertification, and they do a 20-hour week for webinar week. So you can get 40 hours from them just in 2 weeks.
So Becky, quick question for you. So we need hours for the AEMT basic here in Wyoming, and we also need the hours for the National Registry? Or just one?
When you take another class, it goes towards certification. But as an A, I don't have a whole lot more hours than I needed as a B.
But so do we need to keep our certification with the National Registry? I don't know. I'm sorry.
It's up to you. What National Registry does, being registered with National Registry, makes it easier for you to go to another state.
Oh, okay. Okay. So basically, if I want to keep it, yes, I better put hours for the National Registry too.
So I kept National Registry for like 10 years until I realized I am never leaving this state. They're going to bury me right here in Tinsley.
Me neither.
That's
yeah.
the way it is. So I didn't see any point and I let it go.
Okay.
And
So,
I'm
Regina?
hopeful that someday
Yeah.
they're not going to come tell me I have to be nationally registered to teach the class, unless they
Okay.
give me reciprocity and let me get it back by taking the test.
Okay.
So Regina, I was told when I was coming up on my first renewal for my basic that it's easier to upload everything to the national website. And once you submit your research application there, then and they give you your research certification,
Sorry.
then you upload
Okay,
that
hang
to
on.
the state of
Sorry,
Wyoming.
Angie, I need you to start over.
So I was told that the easiest way to do your research
Okay.
is you upload everything to the national webpage and do your application for renewal on the national page. And then once you are done with the renewal there, you upload the renewal certificate from the NREMT site to the state of Wyoming website and submit your renewal application for the state. And it's so much easier. They said it's way hard to upload on the
Then
state
to try
site.
to get the state stuff up there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angie.
So I haven't, I know that I had to get listed with National Registry for somebody to get their hours put on that I taught, but I can't remember when or why. Anyway, yep, good luck with that.
When is our next class, Becky?
Monday.
On Monday? Okay.
Yep, Monday, and then the Saturday after that, the 29th.
Intense sleep, yes?
Yes, it'll be here.
Okay.
If you
Perfect.
can get here. If not, be practicing down there. So
I will try to head that way. Yes.
because if we can do all the hands-on, then we can drop
Yes.
off a lot of things and tell the state, okay, we're ready, get our testing set up.
Yeah, thank you.
I haven't gotten answers from them yet on that one. So cool. Good night, guys.
Hey, Becky.
Yes.
I sent the corrected version of my test sheet. I think I missed answer 47 and 48 because I got a call to pick up a flight crew just now. But I sent over the
McKenna?
yes.
Okay, send me the updated one. That's fine.
Okay, I did. I just wanted to chat with you about that because sometimes my phone does not send what I want it to send.
I know how that goes. I'll probably go home and lose all the papers I just got handed, and I'll have to get them back again.
Okay. Okay, well, see you Monday.
All right. See
Thank
Monday.
you. Thanks,
Good
Becky.
night.
Thanks, guys. Have a
night.
good night.
Enjoy your weekends.
Yes.